Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle and this is the 20 questions tag. I was tagged by the lovely Kate Howe. Thank you so much, Kate, for tagging me. These are some really fun questions, but there are 20 of them, so let's just dive straight in. Number 1, how many books is too many books in a series? That is hard. That is a hard question to start with because I've read some series that had a lot of books in them. Like I've read the Alex Cross series by James Patterson that has like, I don't know, almost 40 books. And I'll admit, the last few I was thinking, okay, I'm kind of done. It was just a little too formulaic. But there's other series that are quite long, over 20 books, that I'm still in for. So it totally depends on whether or not the author does a good job of keeping them new and fresh and interesting. On the other hand, I've read series that have 6 books, and I think it's great because you can just read it and get it done, and then reread it if you love it. It's much easier to reread a short series than it is to reread a really long series. Question 2, how do you feel about cliffhangers? In a series, I guess it's to be expected because they want you to continue on and read the second series. I haven't read actually that many books that have massive cliffhangers. So I don't know. I guess I'm ambivalent about cliffhangers. 3, hardcover or paperback? Paperback. Because I love to read in bed before I fall asleep. I actually have to read or I can't fall asleep. And my husband has dictated that I am not allowed to read hardcover books in bed because what happens is I fall asleep sometimes as I'm reading and the book has fallen on his head. And so, definitely paperback. Number 4, favorite book. This is mean. I have never ever been able to say this one book is my all-time favorite. I have favorites, and so one of my favorites is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is a book that he wrote in like 1860, something like that. And I just absolutely adore it. It's a sensation novel, it's kind of gothic, it has absolutely fantastic characters, and The Woman is White is definitely up there among my favorite books. Number 5, least favorite book. Ooh, this is, I don't often like to talk about the books that I don't like, but I went to Goodreads and I looked at books that I actually gave 1 star to, which aren't very many. And so I'm going to go with ELIZA'S Daughter by Joan Aiken. This is a sequel to Sense and Sensibility, and I actively disliked this book. I loved the one that she did called Jane Fairfax. Is that what it was? The one that she did about Emma. That one is great. But ELIZA'S Daughter was awful. I really, really didn't like that book. And it was because I hated what she did to the characters from Sense and Sensibility. She changed their personalities and their characters, the things that they chose to do, how she had them end up, like, because it was like, I don't know, 10 or so years later, and I just actively disliked that book. 7, the most recent book you just couldn't finish. And so I'm going to have to go with The Royalist here by S.J. Dees. I had really high hopes for this book. It's a historical mystery set during the Civil War in England, and that's a time period that I really enjoy, and I had high hopes for this book, but I'll admit I was just bored. Like, it's just, it had good potential. Like, this guy who was a royalist, he was fighting for the king, and he got arrested and had been thrown in jail, and he knew he was going to hang because that's what they did to them. And he got pulled out of jail to go and see Cromwell, to go and investigate a case in the winter camp. And all of that sounds great, but honestly, like, I just couldn't finish it. So that was actually really disappointing. A book you are currently reading. Well, I always have a stack of books that I am currently reading, so I'm just going to show them to you, because why not? I am currently reading Oscar Wilde's short stories. I'm doing this as a buddy read with Donna from Studio in the Library, and it is so much fun. And I am about to read the last thing, and then we'll have finished this collection, is The Portrait of Mr. W.H. Okay, I have also just started After the Funeral by Agatha Christie. Can we just take a moment and look at this cover? Isn't that fantastic? This edition's from 1954, and I just adore this cover, and I love how it kind of bleeds onto the spine. Oh my goodness. So this is a Poirot, and I've just started this one, but I'm liking it so far. I am also reading The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. This was a recommendation from Jeremy Fee. I asked 12 friends to recommend a book for me. My book for June is The Devil and the White City. Murder, Magic, and Madness at the Fair That Changed America. So this is set in 1893 at the Chicago World's Fair, and also it's about the serial killer H.H. Holmes. So yeah, I'm enjoying this so far, but again, I'm kind of just still at the beginning of that one. I am also doing a read along of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I have never read anything by this author, and boy am I enjoying this book. It is massive, but I'm really excited because we are going to be having our first live show on Saturday. And so I'm excited to chat with the other ladies about this book and see what they think so far. Yeah, I've been really enjoying that. And then I am also reading World Without End by Ken Follett. This is number 2 in his Kingsbridge trilogy. Oh, I guess it's not a trilogy anymore, a series. And I am buddy reading this with Carolyn from Carolyn's Reading Ramblings, and I'm loving that one too. So that's what I'm currently reading. Oh, I forgot one. Number 6 was Love Triangles, Yes or No. And honestly, I don't care. I don't read a lot of romance, and a lot of romance in my books I could give it or take, so yeah, whatever. So number 7 was the most recent book you just couldn't finish. Number 8 is books you're currently reading. Here we go. Number 9, the last book you recommended to someone, and this was actually a recommendation that I gave to Kate Howe, and it was The Man in the Brown Suit by Agatha Christie. I love this book. This is one of her early adventure mysteries, and I just love it so much. Okay, 10, oldest book you've read by publication date. Now, like Kate, I could say the Bible. I've read the Bible, and that was published many years ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But I am also going to talk about The Vicar of Wakefield by Oliver Goldsmith. This is from 1766. It has been years and years and years since I've read this book, so I need to do a reread of it. But I do remember enjoying this one. The Vicar, Dr. Primrose, is a lovable mixture of virtue and foible, shrewdness and simplicity, vanity and stoicism. He, his 6 daughters, and wife Deborah are a group of rustic characters who are portrayed with delicate touches of eccentricity to form an Arcadian picture of affectionate family life. However, their rural idyll is rudely disturbed by a swindler and the villainy of a vile seducer, and further troubles come thick and fast. Goldsmith's prose style is widely regarded as a paradigm of classical English, while the story has the perennial charm of a much-loved fairy tale. And this is the author's only novel. All right, the newest book that you've read by publication date. And so for that, I had to go with Bad Actors by Mick Herron. This came out May 10th, 2022, and I just finished reading this. This is the most recent in his Slough House series, and it did not disappoint. Number 12, favorite author. Again, I have such a hard time with favorites, but I have to say Agatha Christie. I love Agatha Christie, and I have loved her for years. I discovered her when I was a young teenager and have loved her ever since, so Agatha Christie all the way. 13, buying books or borrowing books. Now this one is tricky. I am a massive fan of my library, and I make very good use of it. So I am a huge fan of borrowing books, and I borrow books a lot. But I also buy a lot of books. And that's partly because that's a different thing. Buying books is also a hobby of mine, and I just enjoy buying books. But for the most part, I buy books that I've already read. So I will borrow a book, and if I like it and know that it's a book that I want to reread and add to my collection, then I will buy it as well. 14, a book you dislike that everyone else seems to love. Unpopular opinion here, but I'm going with A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. I'm not sure how to say his last name. Unfortunately, I just found this book so boring. It was a time period that I love and a setting that I love. It's set in Moscow, and it should have been so interesting, but yeah, and there was something about the writing style and the way he put the book together that I didn't enjoy either, so unfortunately. Number 15, bookmarks or dog ears. Bookmarks, and that's because I borrow so many books. I would never dog ear a library book. That is, I would never do that. A book you can always reread. I'm a huge rereader, so this was really hard, but I'm gonna go with The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Some of you may be surprised by that. How could you reread a book, a mystery, when you already know the ending? But that is what I love about the reread of this. I love rereading it and watching for how Agatha Christie crafted this novel, because it is so incredibly clever. And so I love watching for that. I love watching for how she plants her clues and her red herrings. I just love it. And so that is what's fun about rereading a mystery where I already know the ending. 17, can you read while hearing music? Only if it's instrumental. If it's music that has words, then I have a really hard time concentrating. But I actually really enjoy listening to classical music while I read. 18, one point of view or multiple points of view. And I'm gonna have to say both. I honestly enjoy both. 19, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? Both. There have been times where I have just been sucked into a book and it is just so fast-paced that I have read it in one sitting or one day. But most of the books that I read are over multiple days. And then 20, who do you tag? I have no idea who's done this tag or not. So I am going to tag Annika from Inking Your Thinking. I would love to hear your answers to this, Annika. She's got a great channel. Her videos are just beautiful. She'll give you like in-depth looks at beautiful books that she owns. She'll also show you sometimes her artwork. She's a painter and she's fantastic. So check her out if you've never watched a video. Inking Your Thinking is great. I'm also going to tag The Skeleton Key. This is a newer channel that I've discovered, and she just recently hosted a week-long readathon that was really fun. Mysterious Mayhem. I really enjoyed that. So I'm gonna tag you, Skeleton Key. And then I'm also gonna tag Talia at Talia Nerds Out. I love her channel. I love the way that she talks about books. She reads a lot of very similar to books to mine. She reads a lot of mysteries. She reads a lot of Golden Age mysteries, and she also reads a lot of nonfiction, way more nonfiction than I do, but she reads a lot of history, and I love history, and so I love hearing her talk about the history books that she's reading. So that's who I am tagging for this tag. I want to hear all of your answers, and if you have already done this tag, let me know so that I can go and watch your video. Okay, I will see you for another video soon. Bye.